Welcome again to another weekly Oracle card reading. I am back to using this deck, the Astro Star Codes Oracle card deck. And I wanted to go straight to the reading because time is of the essence today. I have a few things I have to do after this, but I do want to make sure I get this reading in. One of the things that's happening for me and through me right now is that the more readings I do, the sharper I become at tapping into this 0 point field, and it is a process for me to just connect to the higher consciousness. And the better I become at it, the clearer the messages and the more in-depth the messages are. So I'm enjoying the process. I am very much enjoying all this process, and I am very appreciative of you being here and just listening in and watching everything as it unravels. There's a few other things that have been popping into mind about, ways for me to expand on my creativity and expand on what I have to offer you. I will eventually be working those out. They're actually just getting worked out for me in the background, but because the more I tap in, then the more those details come through. And I think what's happening here with this particular Keepers of Light portal is that there is a similarity occurring for all of us in that way, in that we're becoming, and we're going to be becoming better and better at tuning into what messages are there for us and for others in the days and years to come, because there's a big shift happening. And it's you could look at it like in the big picture there's a big shift, but really, like, on a day-to-day, moment to moment basis, it is a gradual thing that is occurring, but the changes could be very dramatic. And I guess that's what I'm going to say for now. I'm just going to go ahead and pick 3 is what I am encouraged to do. So we've got the conjunction card. Underneath it says alliance, and we've got 9th house, and 8th house. So 8th house, 9th house, and conjunction. Under 8th house is mystery, and under 9th house is exploration. So what I'm getting from this is the energies that are being put together, the energies from the 9th house, which is the house of education and exploration, and the 8th house, which kind of digs deep into all the mysteries, the esoteric mysteries, and of, we could even say, of the shadow side to life, the side that people don't really want to look at, because it just, it's more so because so what I'm getting from the guides is to start there, to just start talking about this word shadow, and how so many people are scared of things that the idea of it is even scarier than the actual thing of it is what is being pushed, coming through here. And but not for you, which is why you're here. So it is being encouraged to explore and to dig deep into those eighth house issues or eighth house energies. And they're kind of like, see, it's about complexity, and it's also about simplicity, because what I'm hearing from the guides is, and this is kind of like the big message around it, is that there is a way of looking at things where you could kind of like complicate it, because now you're, and that's really kind of like where problems come from, is not the fact that they are a problem, but that it's the fact that you're complicating your perception of what you're seeing and what you're experiencing is very much complicated, and as opposed to being simplified. And that by looking deep and by engaging that ninth house exploration of the higher consciousness perspectives of those issues that you are confronted with, then you can begin to understand that it's not as scary as what most people believe the eighth house to be. Like these topics, that the energies within your lives that would be those topics that you find so horrifying to look at, so hard and so painful to look at, that there is this perception that allows you to s- see that the fear itself is just in itself an illusion. So I want to add to this message by adding this. I want to clarify what I'm saying. This is Mars. Gosh, yes, I had to figure out a different place for me to record, because it's a whole nother story. But that's why I got this angle of the camera and everything going this way, because yeah. So anyway, Mars is motion. So what's gonna put things into motion and create change is, and is you taking charge. So is you taking charge of the energetics of your life. And it's also realizing that your life is always in motion, and that everything is always in motion. So, kind of like one way that is maybe helpful to be able to look at your situations and to look at life is to look at how, because everything is in motion, I mean, time in itself is a conception of motion, even though it really doesn't exist. But there is a perception of things being in continual motion. And it's not as though like the true nature of reality doesn't exist in that way, that things are in motion, because when you consider that everything is vibration and that everything is creating, is a intermixing of frequencies, then that there is that as a level of perception and awareness, that that things are in motion in that way. However, when we plug in the concept of time, we start to now interpose like above that level of understanding of the basics of reality, the simple reality of things, which is really that everything is energy and everything is vibration. We begin to interpose like on top of it, this trying to count and separate out all the different, to separate out the unified field of reality that actually exists. So time is kind of like a way of for us to create this illusion of separation. And not only does it do that, but it also creates the illusion of complexity when it comes to trying to figure out how to disentangle ourselves from whatever issues and situations that we find which seem to be limiting us in terms of being able to attain what we're looking to attain, experientially attain. And so there is a higher learning that is to be had here in those lessons that will be gauged when you finally are able to unplug and see the bigger picture, that time itself isn't really something that exists, but that it only exists in this 3D realm as a way for us to create this experience of complexity. And we are here to, in many ways, experience complexity and experience the beauty of complexity, because anytime you're now looking at perceiving and working with energy so that now you're mixing it up, then you're always going to come up with a solution and a end result which will show the beauty, but at the same time there's also the other end of the spectrum where it now shows the potential for what is not beautiful, for the ugly. And but when what happens is, when you kind of are trying to resolve your what you call an issue in your life, you're seeing it from your focus point being that now you're looking at just the parts of the whole, which then doesn't allow you to see the whole picture, because now you're just looking and focused in on that part of of um of your reality. And Mars here is basically saying that you have this energy, which is very powerful, energy, which is within you, which you can tap into so that you can begin to put into motion those changes that you've been looking to create in your life. Aries, act. So again, this kind of just supports everything that I was saying there. That um, not only are you able to understand that complexity itself is not necessarily a mystery, that complexity itself is not necessarily something that you have to try and run away from, because complexity itself is built on simplicity. And that by following the energetics that are behind every element of solidity, from which from which from which all of the energies that are involved come from, then when you begin to separate out all of that, then you can begin to see the origin point um, for all of those energies. And when you kind of follow all that, then you come back to yourself. You come back to the origin point, and you realize that life is really just an experience of a projection, is like a projected experience of the self. So it is a call here for you to explore those topics that bother you, and it's looking at you can start by looking at topics which may seem to be outwards or happening, not internally but externally, happening externally from you. You can look at topics which seem to have overtaken, the majority of the human population. Let's say, for example, we look at poverty, for example. Not that everyone is in poverty, but that there is a majority who are. That the energetics behind poverty. When you follow the stream of energy, then you're following and seeing the stories that are built within the energetic interface of the energies that are involved in terms of merging together to create a projection field of the perception of poverty. And it kind of works the same way for everything. And so what's happening with keepers of light is that we're kind of mastering this ability to look at our lives and see the illusions and see the perceptions that we have come up with, or the we're able to kind of like look at the whole picture, see, pick out the parts that we call complex, and that's what we're being called to do. Look at your life, see what you determine is too complex for you to resolve. Now, it's better sometimes if you're able to do it from an individual perspective, because when you are able to do it from an individual perspective, then you come to a point where now you can pick and choose the energies that are involved in the process. You can literally alchemize what energies you no longer want to participate in, and you can begin to draw in the energies that are necessary for you to create what you're wanting. But it might be better and easier for you to begin by looking at the complexities that you see within the world, and then practicing in terms of seeing the energetics behind that. And by that, what I mean is you're going to be able to factor in the patterns of energetics that you feel when you are looking at a topic or when you are exposing yourself to a particular topic. You're going to immediately recognize the way in which you feel, how you viscerally feel in your body as you are looking at that topic, number one. And number two, you can also at that point be able to pinpoint what stories are coming up in terms of your interpretation of that particular, how you relate to that particular topic. For example, you could, when you start thinking about, let's say you start thinking about money and you start to feel like your heart is pounding, that's a visceral experience of the topic of money. But now, if you sit with that a little bit longer, you will begin to, and even if you yourself can't sit with it because now it's too much for you to handle, you can still be able to derive to the observation that it is fear based, that it is a fear that is making your heart pound. And from there, you can begin to list out what those fears are, and that's why it's much easier to do it like on topics which are external to you, because you can very well very you can more easily express the discomfort, that your observation of this discomfort that you observe from the external perspective of what is going on in the world externally, like poverty that's going on around the world. You can you can begin to observe how it affects the rest of the population, and how it viscerally affects the population, and how people are living. You can see the differences between wealth and poverty. You can witness all of that. And from there, you can also begin to understand the what messages and what beliefs are being held within that category of people who are wealthy, and that category of people who are not wealthy. Um, the idea really here is that there is all of these examinations that you're doing. You're not just doing it anymore from the perspective that, oh, okay, this is what people believe, but that you can begin to pinpoint how that energy looks like and feels like to you. because it might wind up looking differently and feeling differently to everybody, but the idea isn't necessarily that it has to be the same for the same experience for everybody, but that you are learning how to figure out energetics as how you perceive it through your vessel, through your interface. And so when you're able to link what you are feeling, if it is something that is primary to you in terms of you're relating to, or secondary to you, it really kind of doesn't matter. I think maybe even practicing on topics that really don't bother you may be a good way of looking at this, and practicing where you're looking at the things that are going right in your life, and that you're able to correlate and see that what you are experiencing is energetic in nature. That that when you are having an experience, that it is energetic in nature, because the experience has in itself the reference point for you to have a visceral experience in that moment. And also that you can relate to how your mind perceives the experience, and what you are saying to yourself about that experience as you are having it, or thereafter, or as you're reviewing it. Then you can see that also. But at the same time, in order, when you start to do this more and more, you start to begin to form the awareness that you are the awareness point to the experiences that you're having. And so you also then become aware, or rather self-aware, of your existence as the creator, or the source point to all that is um, being experienced. And that you are here just in the process of creating these projections based upon your perception of what what has been laid outwardly or externally within the manifestations that have been created by the conglomerate of humankind, or what you yourself are creating in terms of your now experience of what is occurring in relation to that. And you're kind of like this really complex being who's becoming aware of your complexity to a level that far reaches what I'm talking about here, because beyond that would be your existence at this ultra dimensional layers of perception that you can gain access to, as long as you are able to, from this level, um, participate, allow yourself to participate in the journey of looking at everything. And it does mean that now you have to start looking at the things that bother you. And I'm not here recommending that you do anything in terms of creating such a disruption in your life that now you can't function. That's not what I'm talking about. If it means that now you have to ease your way in terms of what you can work with in terms of topics before you can be able to partake in interacting with those topics that bother you the most, then do that. I mean, practice. Because the idea is that the formula is the same. It's not necessarily that how well you look into the shadow aspects of life now equals um now is is more productive a process. It's more so that you just get the practice in. So don't push yourself into looking at things that you really don't want to. But I think that what would happen is eventually you're going to be able to, because you will start to see that it's all just energy that you're looking at, and you're not looking at it from that perspective of being so attached to the story that you have told about it, the disheartening stories that we tell about our experiences, or what we're seeing, or what we're witnessing. Because the more you practice, the more you're going to be able to hit that 0 point reference point of being able to disengage from yourself far enough so that you can be, I don't know if that's really correct, but you hit the 0 point that now you are able to access all of the information that is necessary for you to see the whole picture of it, which in itself is at the basic level that you're looking at just energy, like interplaying within itself through you, and that you have the power to change your perspective and perception at will if you are so choosing. Then you are here in the process of mastery to that. All right, I'm gonna leave it here. I kind of feel as though I kind of feel as though I kind of feel as though like sometimes I do these videos and then I don't want to share them because I start to question myself. Then I realize that it's just my mind just getting in the way of not sharing this information, which is coming through me, and it's coming through me for a reason because I'm supposed to be sharing it. So in that way, I can say that it's really the same topic that I was talking about here, how the mind can really get in your way when it comes to making changes in your life. It's going to always latch on to what's complex. But the point really here to this reading and to everything that I'm been saying and doing here is trying to simplify and trying to go back to the basics of the nature of reality, because it is there that the answers that we're looking for in terms of transformation, making things better for ourselves, for the world, it is there that it lies. And so until next time.